Man, welcome back. Welcome back. It's your guy back in the house again. Season 4, rolling. Season 4 already, episode 402 in the house. And of course, hanging out with your main man and them. It's one and only Coach Tony. And this is the Pull Up Podcast Show. Take care of a couple of house orders real quick. Please make sure you share the show, you like the show, and more importantly, subscribe and send it to your friends. Tonight, we're going to have one of my close friends, mentors, been very good to me in the game of basketball, coaching, life, things of that nature. And I'm just so glad to have him back. Because last time he was with us, he was on Interludes Talk on Tuesday. So it's great to see him pull up with me on the Pull Up Podcast Show. But before we bring him out and before we talk about him, Val, you know what to do. Drop it.
It's the Pull Up Podcast. It's the Pull Up Podcast. It's the Pull Up Podcast. Pull up, pull up. It's the Pull Up Podcast. It's the Pull Up Podcast. It's the Pull Up Podcast. Pull up, pull up. Bounce the voice and Coach Tony, you know. It's the Pull Up Podcast. Show. I said bounce the voice and Coach Tony, you know. It's the Pull Up Podcast. Show. It's the Pull Up Podcast. It's the Pull Up Podcast.
Man, back in the house, man. I love that beat, man. My nephew dropped. Send big shout outs to Demetrius Young Farrer for dropping that track. We back in the house for season number 4, episode 402 with your boy, Coach Tony. This is the Pull Up Podcast Show. Tonight, my guest is coming by way of California, the Bay Area, where he's been doing some big things over there, coach, and now an author at the same time. And at one point of his career, let me tell you something, he was unguardable. Very much unguardable. You know, he led the NCAA in scoring for one particular year. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. And he's got a new book, and it's called Shooting for the Impossible. We're going to break down that a little bit. But before I introduce him, before I say a little bit more about him, we're going to let him come on the show, talk about him. My guy, the one and only Coach John Saintignon. Welcome to the show, Coach.
Thank you very much for having me again. It's a wonderful pleasure to be your guest, and great to be on with you and Val again.
Man, I'm just glad. No, Coach, last time you was in the house, we just had the interludes, and now I'm spun off and got my own sports show, man. So it's great to have you grace the stages again. As I tell everybody, you know, you've been so very instrumental in my career early on. Meeting you as I was getting started back in the early 2000s, and just the information, you never turned me down, I always was there. You know, I needed a question answered, man, so it was great. So I just want to take you and give you flowers. I appreciate all that you've done for me.
You know, that's what we're all supposed to do. You know, we didn't invent the game, and if you're blessed and have some information, you know that I'm more than willing to share it. And I actually enjoy that aspect of it.
Man, I appreciate you. Let's get back to the early days. Let's take us back. You're originally from Arizona, Tucson area. Talk to a little bit about that and how did you get out to California?
Yeah, so I was adopted, and so I grew up, and my parents brought me from Mexico as an adopted child, and so I grew up in Tucson, Arizona, and was fortunate enough, you know, to get an education. You know, that was what they stressed, and for me to try out everything that I possibly could, you know, from basketball to football to baseball to whatever I wanted to do, and just keep doing it. And lo and behold, you know, I started to figure out that I really enjoyed all the sports. I loved them all. But for some reason, basketball became something where I was just fell in love with the pace, the speed, the differences, the athleticism that I was witnessing. It was graceful, and watching older players, you know, I was fascinated by it.
Yeah. And it's amazing because, like you say, you come from Mexico. So I'm surprised that, you know, that you weren't, as they say, Americans call it soccer, but you guys call it football. And I'm surprised that you didn't gravitate more to soccer.
Yeah. So, you know, growing up, there was a bit of an ideology that was already implanted, you know, like you should be playing. A kid like myself, you know, I'm not 6'8". You know, I wasn't dunking the basketball. I wasn't, you know, a black athlete. I wasn't, you know, and that's a stereotype that was involved with the game of basketball. And well, here I am, some Mexican American kid wanted to play this game.
Right.
Yeah, I was told, hey, you should play soccer. Guys like you play baseball, and
Right.
so. But I fell in love with that game, and luckily, as with the case with everything else in life, some people took me under their wing and allowed me to play with them and guide me as I was younger, playing with older people. And I just fell in love with it. Probably because I was surrounded by some good character people as well that
Right.
kind of showed me the ropes and led me away from all the pitfalls. But really, I didn't need anybody. I just needed a ball.
Right.
And rims and all that were abundant outside. And heck, I grew up in Tucson, Arizona. It was it's hot, man. It's 100
You play all
degrees
year
every
round.
day.
Yeah, you play all year round, and it's crazy because you got an opportunity to play outside. You said the magical word. You can't get these kids nowadays to go outside if you strangle them, Coach.
Yeah, well, it's a different time area as well, but luckily I grew up during that time period where, you went outside and you had to be back when the lights came on.
Lights came on. Exactly. And if you got a chance to play on the courts, you got rules when you got to the court about the older players. You stick
Yeah.
Here on the other side.
I was just lucky if you could get in, man. And if I did, man, you try your very best to try to win the game and not, when you're first, you just don't want to screw up.
Right.
But you see that there's a size differential, strength differential, and I was fascinated by it, so that's what kept me going, and also the fact that, hey, I didn't need anything else, and it was a relatively cheap sport. It didn't cost a lot.
Right, it didn't cost a lot to do it. So while in high school, the team that you had an opportunity to play on, did your high school team win a state championship, or were you also surrounded by other good players on the high school team that went on to play big time?
Yeah, luckily I ended up going to a Catholic school in Tucson called South Point Catholic, and it is one of the best schools definitely within the Tucson area. And it was my neighborhood school was a school called Pueblo High School. And they had won the back-to-back state championships when I was coming up. They had numerous incredible people that had played there. Lafayette Lever, who ended up having a long NBA career, was there. And I watched him and I saw how smooth he was. But ultimately, I went to the Catholic high school because I was really wanted there, and they were good. And so I just felt an attraction to go there. And really it was because mainly my parents, they really wanted me to have an education and use basketball as a tool. That's all it was. You're lucky if you can keep on using it, just keep doing it. But it's a tool to get an education. They felt that private school education was going to be a difference maker. And for me, it was me being surrounded by people, all different walks of life for the first time, and experiencing competition within the classroom and social dynamics, things that were typical within my own neighborhood, they didn't understand.
Right.
And vice versa, to be quite honest. I didn't understand what they were going through either.
Right. But it's messed up. So as you're sitting there in high school, you're playing, and then you got this phenomenal team, got other good kids around. When did you find out that you were pretty damn good at this game? And then, the recruiting, the way you and I know, different. How was your recruiting back in the day? So we always have to tell the kids, there's no social media, right? Mid-'80s. There's no, this and that. And there's no cell phones. So there's literally pick a hard phone up, landline, make phone calls, and you got to write letters. So how did that, attribulate with you starting to get your name out there and starting to get noticed?
So in the 8th grade is when I first realized it. I was considered the best player in Tucson at the 8th grade level, and so my school won the championship at that level. And so I was fortunate to be surrounded by some great kids that were surrounded my teammates, and most of us ended up going to this Catholic high school.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very fortunate that I was guided slowly, to go on to just freshman basketball and compete together as a unit, and then move on to JV when I was 10th grade. Again, cohesive and not throwing myself into like a varsity level and then get exposed because of my size differential.
Right.
But by the time I did get to varsity, it was a big jump. The lights are on, the gym's packed, it's a lot of expectation. Yeah. But I get this unique invitation that had been set up prior from some other fellow players that had gone before me at South Point that got 5-star basketball camp.
Oh, I remember 5-star.
I get that unique invitation, and I am anxious to go, not knowing what I'm going to, because at this particular time in my life, I have not really left Arizona at all. So I don't really know what's going to happen, much less top level basketball camp for, 400 players in the hill, in Pennsylvania.
Yep.
And boy, I arrive and my eyes are wide open. Howard Garfinkel is the director, and Garfinkel knew my name and where I came from and everybody. And I just blew my mind away that somebody is that knew that much information about every single player like that around the country. Wow. And but it's my first time seeing players from Chicago and New York, and flashy and tall and athletic, and man, the competition was remarkable. I was in camp myself with Muggsy Bogues, and Williams, who came out of Dunbar as well, that ended up winning the national championship at Georgetown.
What year was that camp, Coach? You remember what year that was?
So that's my summer going into my senior year of 1983. So it would have been 1982 summer.
So that was, I think you would have also had Chicago's best player at that time, which would have been Ben Wilson, coming out of seminary.
He very well may have been in there. I personally didn't play against him at that particular junction. Dwayne the Pearl Washington, yes, I did.
Syracuse, yes.
And a couple others. And those were the guys, because I was fascinated that I thought I was good, and yet I'm way not at all comparatively to where they stand at that junction of our lives. And so it catapulted me into returning back and becoming a different athlete, which is what my coach wanted me to do, to be quite honest, go get the experience, find out what it's like, come back. Hopefully you're a better player, and you will help us, at least make the playoffs. And that's what I wanted to do, was come back different.
Wow, man, that is awesome, because I remember those camps, and a lot of kids don't know those camps used to be held outside, not indoors, but outside.
All outdoors, all the time, everything. From 7 in the morning, waking up and having, calisthenics, and then breakfast. And what I found remarkable was that the All-Americans, Garfinkel made them serve everybody breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And that was remarkable for me to see that. Like, here's the top players in the country according to his rankings. Right. They were serving us plates, I thought that was great. Gave them some humbleness. And but yes, every station, everything was outdoors all day, all the time.
Yeah, no matter what. And then that's pretty cool there, because like you said, humble a person that you already know how good you are, but then you have to serve the other guys not as good as you are, because most of those guys would eat it up if they had the underlayments serving to them. They really think they were on top of the world. So I love that.
Yeah, it was a great technique, and I enjoyed it, and thought that was, again, if that was Garfinkel's idea, to make sure that they remained humble.
Yeah, that was awesome. And I love those camps back in the day too, and all that. And when you're looking at that, and like I said, Dwayne Pearl Washington, I just love him. He came out, went to Syracuse, Reggie came out, at Georgetown, that whole crew. That was back in the day. And this is, by the way, everybody who's listening, basketball. It was prior to the 3-point line.
Yes, didn't exist yet.
And not to date myself, it came my senior year in '86. So I know that, I remember when it hit Chicago, we had no idea how to use it, but all we know it was there and we were able to use it. So it was fun.
Yep, that's how it was, So I'm fortunate that came about, and I was grateful for that opportunity, and returned back and played as hard as I could for my high school.
Yeah, that's good. And we're talking to my guy, the one and only coach, John Saintignon, here with Coach Tony on the Pull Up Podcast Show. We're going to take our first quarter break, let Val pay some bills. We'll be right back on the other side of the Pull Up Podcast Show. Hey, I'm Coach Tony, and this is the Pull Up Podcast Show. For every Monday, we break down the game quarter by quarter and give you information as well as break down the coach. Join us on the Pull Up Podcast Show.
Pull up. It's the Pull Up Podcast. It's the Pull Up Podcast. It's the Pull Up Podcast. Pull up. Bounce the boys and Coach Tony, it's the Pull Up Podcast show. I said bounce the boys and Coach Tony, it's the Pull Up Podcast.
Are you a small business owner looking to grow? Introducing the Key Spot mobile app. I'm Cynthia McAllister, owner of the IT company Quality SAP. Since 2016, we have been supporting small businesses and help them promote and share their businesses, services, and events across the country. Key Spot is more than just an app. We are a network providing community. Key Spot, connecting communities and supporting small businesses.
Man, welcome back to season number 4, episode 402 of the Pull Up Podcast Show with my guy. The great thing about him, glad Val put it here, with celebration of National Hispanic Heritage Month. It's actually just wonderful, Coach. Talk to us a little bit about that, because you had like I said, the unique opportunity that most people don't get. You really don't find a lot of Mexican descent who come here to the States, get an opportunity to play a sport. And it's a sport that's not normally the sport that you would play. And then you end up at, 5-star, and you come back home, and I know your head and everything was just filled with just, when you got back and you sit down and talk to your coach, and you was ready to get it, how fired up were you, ready to jump back into the action and show everybody what you learned?
So my high school coach, his name was Coach Flannery. He was your modern day equivalent of a Bobby Knight. He was really strict, really tough, and for the most part, I'd say a lot of players early in life, myself included, up until I got to know him better, were fearful of his persona, right? And but I saw the genuine heart that he had when he allowed me that opportunity to go. It was an invitation, and he wanted to genuinely know how it went. Curiosity from a coach's standpoint. Also, how am I returning? What did I receive coming back? And our relationship changed. It became, I no longer viewed his yelling at me. It was more for me to be excellent. And it came from a different place. Now, those that were probably in the audience or listening or hear the ranting and raving that perhaps he was doing and yelling, but they didn't see that wasn't at me. He just wanted me to be better as best as I could, like a good shot versus a great shot, right. And it changed my decision making and truly made me better. That's what it did.
Now that's funny you say that. They were just talking to Troy Aikman earlier tonight, before the game came on. And somebody asked him, the Kansas City effect, because we know they're down 0-2, could have been 0-3 into the remarkable game yesterday. And they were like, when is that situation? And they've been 6 out of 11 out of the last 7 Super Bowls. How tough is it to come back and forth? And Troy said exactly what you said. He said, it had nothing to do with us going back to the Super Bowl. What it was how can you motivate your best players? Because once you taste it and once you win it is one thing. You do it again, now you're on another planet by yourself. But to come back like a Michael Jordan and the Bulls did and three-peat it, you have to have a certain amount of ability to have someone in your face holding you super accountable because of that. And I'm sure that senior year yours, your coach held you very accountable because your next move was on to California. So what happened between maybe say Arizona State, Northern Arizona, University of Arizona? How did you get to California, at Santa Cruz?
So as you stated earlier in the conversation, there is no internet. There is no different type of media. There is no videotapes and all this other stuff that you can easily access. What there was Street and Smith magazine.
Yep, Street and Smith.
And I was in it, but there's a list of hundreds of players and pretty much every player that went to 5 stars in that magazine.
Yep.
But now from Tucson, Arizona, there's only one institution, and in the state of Arizona, there were only 3 Division I institutions. It was Northern Arizona, Arizona State, and U of A.
Yep.
And they had their list, of who they wanted. I wasn't a part of it, and so it was just overlooked. It wasn't that I didn't want it. I truly wanted to remain. Because if you grow up in Tucson, Arizona, you're a diehard Arizona fan.
Yep.
But that wasn't the case, So that began the campaign of letters, and now that doesn't fall upon me. That's my head coach taking the time out to do that, and where to send it to. He was a big believer in the junior college route. A little bit.
Was big at that time, though.
Yeah, and I just didn't want to go into a junior college system. I wanted to go straight to a 4-year university, and it was luck. Actually, no one really recruited me. It was really low, small level. And then one day I did get a phone call from the University of California at Santa Cruz, and I didn't. Again, you had to be home, to get a phone call. Correct. You had to answer it,
Right.
We didn't have an answering machine and all the other things at that time either. And so the call comes in, and I can't believe that's the case. And it's late in the process, it was already August, and school's beginning, and I'm not thinking like maybe my career path is, I don't know what's next. Luckily, that university didn't start school till late September. Yeah. And so he sends, by mail application, and you got to do everything handwritten. It wasn't like you could do it all typing. It was just the way it was, as well as for an athlete. You had to actually you had to get into an institution.
Sure.
It wasn't like it was separated for you. And so here I am, applying to the institution, and I get in. And it was, again, that sense of being wanted by somebody. So I go to the school, sight unseen, have no idea where I'm going.
Wow.
Yeah,
Some of the
never
kids,
been there.
you go around the block, and and normally they want a school visit, and you go sight unseen. Now you're in California, you're loving it. You're now settled in, just coming out of 5-star, just had a decent senior year. Now all of a sudden, and this is what I talk to these kids about, Coach John, and that is, if you really want it, you got to work. And I'm gonna give big kudos out to one of my kids right now, Amir Rahman, who is you would absolutely love him. His high school coach didn't even appear to want to play him, didn't even appear to want to put him on a team. After sophomore year, played AAU the last couple of years of me, and I told him, I've been down this road a few times. I know what I'm doing. I got contacts and here and there. But what you need to do is don't worry about the high school coach. Play hard in the summer, keep your workouts up. And if you make the team and the coach don't play you, just use the team to stay in shape, put up shots and everything you need, work out so you have a gym available, but you need to show a coach at the next level you can play. And John, the phone call came in today from mom and dad. And my kid made as a walk-on to Florida Memorial University. So he's at FAMU down in Florida, Tallahassee. I absolutely love it. And when this show is over, I got another call to jump on with them. So I'm excited about it. So, and it just goes to show you, even way back in the mid 80s when you were doing it, the only difference is you had to physically fill out that. And that thing is about 20, 25 pages long. So I know your hand was hurt, you know?
You had to write everything.
You mail it in, put a letter together, cover letter, and all that. How did, when once you settled into Santa Cruz and you started to get the basketball practice, started to play and everything of that nature, did you put in your mind, I'm going to show Arizona and Arizona State what they missed out on?
No, that didn't enter my mind. I was just grateful that somebody took a chance on me.
Okay.
And I was so dedicated and focused that that's all I was, and I had blinders on. I just wanted to be the best I possibly could. And I actually think that maybe I shocked my teammates upon first arrival that I was that serious about it. Upperclassmen were like, calm down, we started. We haven't even begun yet, and it was my drive to be like, I'm just lucky. My whole time, almost everywhere I've ever been, it's like, I'm a lucky kid. I got the break, Right. Basketball has provided me this opportunity for me to go to school. I'm the first in my family to go to college.
Wow.
And not just that, I'm going to use basketball as well. Man,
Right.
this is amazing, and it's what carved the way for me. So I don't want to blow that opportunity, and I want to do the very best I possibly can, and surround myself with the coach that I was with, and make sure that I didn't disappoint him.
Right. And now, what was your work ethic like? Were you getting up early, putting in shots, working on ball handling? Again, because, now you're coming up, 85, 86. For a lot of people that don't know, you got Reggie Miller out there and doing the things, and those other guys, Hornacek and these guys, and you led the nation in scoring 31.5 points per game. That is, that was at the time of the year I was getting ready to come out. I was a senior, getting ready to come out of my senior year of high school. And, after all the hard work, and then you took on a sport that didn't supposed to be your sport. How did that make you feel now? So
as I got better and better in the game of basketball, going into that junior season, I had met a coach by the name of Luther Whitsitt my sophomore year. Okay. And he transformed, because I went in the summertime. The only employment that it possibly could have was to do counseling for basketball camps.
Okay.
So I went to Jamal Wilkes, Coach Pat Riley. I went to Coach John Wooden's camps, and I was a counselor. And so I was fortunate, because you would work all day with kids and being a counselor, but then you got to compete against each other. And that's what I was looking for, was all these college athletes just getting on the floor, making ourselves better. Well, Coach Whitsitt has this shooting demonstration, because he had two sons that played at Stanford, and they did a phenomenal shooting demonstration at all these basketball camps. Well, one day, one of the sons is injured, and Coach Wooden says to put me in that slot. And now I'm walking out there cold, have no idea. It's a random routine of just shooting, making all nets, all this stuff in front of 400 players.
Right.
And I do the best that I possibly can. And I think I exceeded the expectation of Coach Whitsitt. And after that, he said, do you want to train with us? Because I think I can help you become even better. And of course, who doesn't want to do that? Right.
I'm jumping on the first train on that one.
So he tells me, okay, so you're living in Los Angeles. At the time I was living in Pasadena, and we work out every day, 5:30 every day in San Pedro. That's 40 miles, 45 miles away from me. Right. No problem, man. I'm going to be there. And sure enough, it's intense, it's rigorous, but he changed the way I shot. It was no longer to make baskets. It was to make them all net. And so he called that he called that a discipline, right? Because now it was involving trajectory, how quick the release was coming. And you throw into everything else, all the other things that are coming around. And then as you got stronger and better, then he added resistance to you. So now you started having a weight on you.
Yep.
And we had all the players coming from UCLA. We had them all that would arrive in the morning, but they would only come one day, because it was just too much, for them, and they not on top of getting up in the morning, you have now got to make this all net consecutively, so now pressure's on. You added all these interesting dynamics. So that's what catapulted me, because by now, when I entered my junior season, man, I've seen and done everything possible. I got 5:30 ritual my whole career. To this day, I wake up at that hour, and I'm stay with it. And no 3-point line. It hasn't come in yet.
Yep.
It doesn't come in until the following year.
Yep.
And I just put my head down and scored, because that's what my coaching staff wanted. And that last day of there was a kid out of Clark University in Atlanta. Reggie Miller had already finished at UCLA that game, and I think he came in at something like 26. And I was told, if you get 30, you're the champion. Had no idea what that meant.
Right.
I didn't know. I get it. But it's like, okay, what does this mean?
Right.
So I get this interview afterwards from this local television guy, and that's ESPN local, because ESPN is not massive yet.
Right. It's early.
They're located in Bristol, Connecticut, but it was all satellite feeds. They were taking whatever information, news they could receive, and sending it back. Not by satellite. That's not really there yet. Right. It's going back by video. Correct. So it was amazing, to hear it, and then years, to know, like, well, I have no idea what ESPN is, but how cool is this,
Right.
But that's how it all began. Like, here, and people would. I remember this one coach from UCLA seeing me and telling Jack Haley, who was playing with them, he looked at me and he kind of downplayed who I was. And the coach from UCLA goes, don't overlook it, man. That kid led the country in scoring. He scored 3 times more than you've ever scored, and it was, and here's 6'10" Jack Haley looking at me up and down. What can I say, man? I was like, that's good that he said that, because that's what I was trying to do, was trying to just be the best possible that I could be at any given moment. Man,
that is awesome. Man, we having an in-depth conversation, some good info, good, man. I tell you, if you guys can follow this, especially young guys who listen to this, you're going to get your game better here. We'll be right back. We're going to take a halftime break, let Val pay some more of these bills around here and get these bill collectors out of my pocket. We'll be right back in one moment on the Pull Up Podcast Show. Who you got?
Just look at the lineup on the Millennials. You got Steph Curry, best 3-point shooter in of all time. Matter of fact, we got Kevin Durant, KD. Slim Reaper, one of the best players. We got Harden, Joker, and of course LeBron James, the GOAT of basketball himself. And he's the all-time leading scorer. Brings teams from the bottom all the way to the top. Without him, man.
I'm going to answer that.
What would basketball even be?
I'm going to give you that in a minute. But, okay, Coach Justin, what you got?
Man, it's tough. I'm thinking about it. Magic is going to be AI. Jordan is going to be Kobe. Shaq is going to get the edge on Hakeem Olajuwon. Tim Duncan is going to get the edge on Charles Barkley. Larry may have the edge. Millennials, I got to X out the millennials just because they have James Harden on there. If they might replace him with someone else that I could think of, I probably would pick the millennials over everybody.
Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. It's the Pull Up Podcast. It's the Pull Up Podcast. It's the Pull Up Podcast. Pull up. It's the Pull Up Podcast. It's the Pull Up Podcast.
You know, because what did you do today will help you figure out, you know, are you comfortable with the decisions that you're eventually come down the road? They're out of your control. But what's in your control is what you did today. Okay. That concept really helps because in coaching professional basketball or any sport, all it takes is someone to say, that's it. We lost, fire them. And it's because of it's called cause, you know, just because. Mm-hmm. And when I was at Oregon State University, the head coach is the only one that's protected. Everybody else is on that same cause. You can be fired just because. All right. Wow. Now, professional basketball is the exact same thing. You don't win, immediately something happens. If the totality of the situation doesn't think about, like, let's say 60 games, the overall season. Right. Let's take into account injuries. Let's take into account talent.
Man, that was a good old interview back in the day, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah. That was back when I was in Japan. You guys interviewed me then.
Yeah, man. And speaking of that, you know, if you guys have any questions, make sure you ask them so Val can put them in a tagline. You know, let's bring that situation. So now you move on to the professional ranks, you know, as a player, end up playing in Spain, Mexico. Talk a little bit about that because I know you, once again, you had aspirations of the NBA and stuff like that. What was the major difference that you saw playing FIBA basketball as opposed to playing in the NBA?
Well, in the NBA, I only got an opportunity only to do a tryout. So I get that opportunity, but I didn't make the team. But I was fortunate to have the experience of being around, you know, the NBA players for a 3-week period. So that I was grateful for. To get my FIBA experience, you know, it came because of my accolade of leading the country in scoring, got me an invitation to the Los Angeles Summer Pro League. And in the Los Angeles Summer Pro League,
was that the Drew League?
It would be considered the NBA Summer League.
Yeah, Summer League.
It would be considered that the Summer League of Las Vegas.
Yeah, gotcha.
It would be considered that. It was all centered there. And so all the teams had their guys there and all their free agents and their draft picks, and they would put them all together, kind of like what it is now. And so, yeah, but I got lucky. Get that invitation. I take full advantage of it. And lo and behold, one day in warm-ups, this one coach walks down the baseline in the layup line and just tells me, you know, I'm coach from Spain. Love to offer you. Can we talk tonight? Of course, you know.
Exactly.
Of course we're gonna talk. But I didn't know that it was immediate, you know, like
that's different.
Like we need to, you know, you need to stop playing this. You need to gather all your stuff and you need to be on an airplane. Yeah. That was the decision, you know, and contractual, you know, it was just face to face, just he and I had no agent. I've never had one.
Wow.
Even as all my playing career and all my coaching career, I've never had an agent. And, and so it was, just what am I willing to play for? The agreement came, take the chance. And here I am off on a whole new journey, not knowing where I'm going to go either. But what I found out was that it's grown man basketball, you know.
It's everybody. And if you don't do what you got to do, they send you home the same weekend.
Yeah, same day, right. You know. My first game, I am feeling like I'm the guy. You know, I'm energetic. It's exciting. I'm playing in front of my home crowd, and I make a layup. I drive, and then I go again, and I make another one, and I'm feeling on top of the world. Right. I go for my third one, and this guy puts me down. and it's a forearm, and it's literally across my forehead, and I hit the deck, and I'm bleeding profusely. That's the introduction now.
Wow.
Now, that's a hard foul. I'm having to stop this thing. I'm gonna need stitches. Gonna have to try to keep playing, and that's I'm just like, man, this is a new world now. Did I think twice about going in? You bet.
Yeah.
You know, because that guy's waiting in there.
Yeah.
So you know, but back then we played 4 nights a week, and
Oh wow.
you know, so the travel was brutal. It
Mhm.
wasn't luxurious as today. There weren't 6 or 7 leagues per country as there are now.
Right.
This was one level, and they're smoke-filled environments. You know, the arenas where drinking was allowed, bottles were in there,
Throwing bottles,
smoke. You know, all those things that they'll talk about. It happened. You know, and rivalries that were intense because of cities, but it's modeled in Europe, as most of the countries were. It was modeled after the concept of soccer, and so, but soccer was a one-shot deal. And basketball was just too many. Man, we were playing 4 times a week.
Yeah.
Hit the road, go on a long road trip, 16, 18 hours sometimes. And then land, and it's in the middle of the night, and you're required to play that night. You know, not only that, shoot around and then come back, and then
right. Yeah, that's how I tell people. You know, we on the fan appreciation show last season as well, we talked to these young guys who don't get it, and I know they talk about LeBron. I love LeBron and all that, but I said, listen, man, you put LeBron back between 82 and 90. You know, and a lot of people don't remember. You know, Jordan had broke his ankle his rookie season. But you put it back in those between 80 and 90, you know, before we started winning the championships in 90 with the Bulls, but that early 80 to 90 when Mike them had to learn how to win. The dudes put you on your ass, you come through the lane. Charles Barkley, clothesline, Kevin McHale playing dirty. Boston turned the showers on so the floor is slippery and every time you go.
Right.
You may survive and all that, but it'll change your game. And that's what happened with Jordan. You know, Jordan was like, hey, man, he got tired of getting thrown in the stands and thrown down. He learned how to shoot that jump shot. So you know, that was different. And now you see yourself in a FIBA environment. These guys in there smoking Marlboros, drinking a beer, throwing it on the floor. Rivalry games are there. That's crazy.
Yeah. Nah, even the players would walk in the locker room and they could smoke too. You know, it was just a new world. We were teammates, but really you were just colleagues. You know, nobody really hung out. Nobody did anything else. You know, you would, you know, hit the road, play your game, go on your way, do whatever you wanted to do, be ready and shoot around. So at that point, that's when I first realized like this is no longer a collegiate atmosphere. Winning is absolutely everything. Things could happen that will alter the course of the game, maybe intentionally. You know, who knows why that was done. You know, and if you took an injury, there's not the sports science didn't exist. Gatorade wasn't prevalent. You know,
exactly.
We had actual Coca-Cola as our drink on the sideline.
Yep. And man, I get a needle too. I had to get that cortisone shot, you know, right in the knee, coach. So that needle never felt great. Oh, let me tell you.
No, you know, and if you like that day, I had to have stitches. I mean, I'm in an actual hospital, but I'm required. There's no load management. There's no. I'm required to play. You know, this is my job. You know, and it might be 40 minutes. This is the way it is. You know, you're just gonna be out there. And so, as your point, and when you brought it back to Jordan, you know, those guys never wanted to come out. Whereas today's game, you know, hey, they sit. You know, I couldn't imagine.
Show up. Some of them don't even show up. They say, "Hey, I'm not playing tonight."
Yeah, I couldn't imagine doing that, man.
$150 for a ticket, and I'm not even playing tonight.
Yeah, I mean, when I grew up, you just valued the amount of time that you had playing this game. You never wanted to be subbed out because felt
Right.
like it was you were doing something wrong. Well,
Exactly.
it's changed. Today, that's not the case. Today, the game has evolved. It is more of staying fresh and pace and all the other good things. But man, you're talking about a culture shift.
Man, big time. Speaking of culture shift, we're going to take our last break of the day, and we're going to get into coaching into his book. We'll be right back. This is Coach Tony on the Pull Up Podcast Show with my guy, the one and only Coach John Saintignon. We'll be right back on the Pull Up Podcast Show. Hey, it's your main man, right back at you, coming live here from the Rise Studios, and it's your guy talking about what? Pull Up Podcast Show. What is the Pull Up Podcast Show? It's a brand new podcast hitting your airways nationwide, talking everything on sports, from baseball, basketball, hockey, and then I tell you, we're gonna have a lot of fun. So make sure if you want your questions answered, you want to have fun talking a lot of sports, make sure you pull up on me, because it's the Pull Up Podcast Show.
It's the Pull Up Podcast. It's the Pull Up Podcast. It's the Pull Up Podcast. Pull up, pull up.
Also, for those that want to learn a little bit more about this right here, oh yeah, that right there, that's the Rise, NIL, talking name, image, and likeness. Those having opportunities to get paid, you want to tune in to it.
Sports show, let's go. It's the Pull Up Podcast show. It's the Pull Up Podcast. It's the Pull Up Podcast. It's the Pull Up Podcast. Pull up. It's the Pull Up Podcast. It's the Pull Up Podcast. It's the Pull Up Podcast. Pull up. Let's go.
Man, welcome back. Fourth quarter sports info with your boy, Coach Tony, here on the Pull Up Podcast Show. So, Coach John, looking at today's game and all that, what is your evaluation of like the WNBA and the NBA? Because I'm a huge WNBA fan. I just went crazy. Adrian Wilson just got 4 times MVP. I had Nafisha Collier getting it at Minnesota Lynx and all that. But I got the Lynx and Vegas looking like they possibly going to meet each other. So I still got both those teams in there. How are you liking the way the women's game is coming about right now?
I saw it in a different capacity from a coach's standpoint, how the attention to detail, the systematic operations that they have. It's not the same as the NBA, where there's a little bit more of the athletic talent that can take over one time, an isolation move or something like that. They're truly trying to stay within a system of play. And my conversations with various coaches there, that you could tell they're actually playing a systematic style of defense too. They're trying to force, no middle or something of that nature, or switching a lot. They got a lot of things that are going on in a team-oriented concept. Caitlin Clark completely helped the game for sure, with more eyes on it. Myself included. I had to see her play in college, and it was it's different. It's but everybody else in that league is a beneficiary of how great that infusion of energy came in and helped them all. Wilson is fantastic, but man, there's a whole bunch of, Kelsey Plum. There's a whole bunch that are remarkable.
Love her. Diggins, Williams came over from England and got a contract right after the Olympics because she killed the U.S. in the Olympic Games, even though they lost. So, I'm just loving everything that's going on, within that in itself. And, that within itself and translating to your coaching mind and all that, as you were a coach and all, looking at both sides of the house, you came back to Oregon State, got to Oregon, and did some coaching and all that. How were you able to translate a lot of your playing years in FIBA to now you're coaching these young guys in college?
So as a college athlete, or my ability to transfer what I learned into the collegiate guys is different than the professional guy.
Yep.
So
how's that? Just based on the pro guys is making the money, they think that they've already got to that level, and the college guys are still coming up?
Well, what the difference was with my professional athletes, I only have them for a window of that time of let's say 12 to 4. The rest of the time is all theirs. I don't know what they do, where they go, how they do it. It's all them. So whereas in the college, I know that's a lot of contact, even off the floor, the training table, the athletic events, the tutoring, I care about what their mom and dad are doing. You are invested differently than the college, because it is all about your potential to do something. And in the professional game, there are a lot of coaches that don't care about any of their personal life, because it is now performance based. You need to do it today. And there's the part where it gets a little tricky, right? Because they're not robots. They're not, what they visualize, a lot of owners and general managers outside of the NBA visualize that you are a 20-point scorer, and that's 20 points is automatic. It's not automatic.
Right.
It can be bad.
On the other side.
Hey man, there might be a monster on the other side, or some days after all those games, my last coaching stop was the last 3 years was in Japan. And I'm telling you, man, 60 game season can wear you out a coach, but more as an athlete. Some days you knew there was a fog that they couldn't see, but I knew that as a former player that I could understand, like you're not going to give me all that I think is there. Yeah. Let's see if I can grab 60% of what you have today.
Something to help.
And then, man, hopefully that the rest of that bench is just going to keep coming and something will turn. That's the creativity side of the game now. But yeah, in the college game, I was concerned about every single thing they were doing. How was algebra? How are they going to get to class? What are they going to do?
Right. What y'all doing later on tonight and all that stuff like that. And so how did, the playing and then the coaching and all that, how did that end up inspiring you to go on into the other side where you say, I think I need to put this in a book, and then you sat down and you wrote and all that? What inspired the book, Shooting for the Impossible?
There are two. This is my second book, so the first book I wrote was Take Your Shot, Make Your Play. Mm-hmm. That was more of a calling card to get, to show that you could do something. Mm-hmm. But this was a journey of my quest to discover who my birth parents were.
Oh, okay.
I called that Shooting for Impossible because it's a needle in a haystack story. I had no idea who my mother and father's names were, nor did I have a photograph of them. All I could recall was just conversation that my parents were having, that where I possibly was born. And I took the chance. At the time I was scouting for the NBA. I was scouting for the Clippers.
Okay.
It's on Arizona. I'm watching a game, and it's pointless. We don't have this first, second round pick of the draft that year. Nobody there is going to get drafted 12th, So I just sit there and I say, I'm going to where I think I was born. And it was Nuevo Casas Grandes in Chihuahua, Mexico, where I was born. And I go on that route. I drive, I get there. I don't know anybody, but I am social media. I get on Facebook and I meet Victor Quiones, who was a basketball coach, and he turns out to be almost like the mayor of the town, and he's interested in this story, and he's willing to help me. And I mean, we're going all over the place, and we're on radio broadcasts. I'm speaking in front of college students. We're going door to door. But I'm not auditioning for a parent. I'm just trying to get an idea. Like, am I from there? Do I have a birth certificate? Where was I possibly born? And it was remarkable. I ended up spending 3 years going back and forth. And eventually, I took DNA exams, and I ended up having a search angel in Provo, Utah with Ancestry. .com, and ancestry.com lady told me, you know what would be great is if you take another exam. And it didn't occur to me. And so I did, I took another one, 23andMe, and lo and behold, when the results came back, there was 2 people on there that were like, hey, this is your first cousin niece.
Oh,
and
wow.
so it shocked me. And I was like, wait, first cousin niece means, wait, that means that's a brother and a sister child of one of them.
Right.
I carefully manuscripted an email asking for a phone call. They were gracious enough to call me back and tell me that I possibly should speak to their father. Their father calls me, maybe a week or so later, and says, I believe I'm your brother.
Oh, my goodness.
And I'm calm and cool and saying, tell me why. Well, as I was in Mexico on these journeys, I've visited with one of the doctors there, and one of the doctors there told me, you know what? 20 years ago, this guy came, he had a small picture, he spoke no Spanish, and he went door to door. And I was like, did he find? And he's like, yeah, he found her. And I'm like crushed, like, wow, that's a great story, but that didn't happen to me, man.
Right.
So when I tell this gentleman who called me, I said, tell me why. And he goes, well, 20 years ago, I went to Mexico. I didn't speak Spanish. I went door to door. And I'm like, you're the guy that I heard the story of. And he's like, yeah, I found our mother. And I asked, did we have brothers and sisters? Said, yes, you have a sister here and a brother. We don't know where he's at. We thought he was given up for adoption. He was born in 1965, and he was in Las Vegas, Phoenix, or Tucson, but we don't know.
Oh, my God.
My brother gathered all the other siblings up and came looking for me. Now, Tony, he very well may have found me, but I was already in college.
Right.
But to be quite honest, I wasn't ready to hear that. At 20 years old, all I'm thinking about is, like I told you, just playing basketball the best I can play. I wasn't willing to hear any of that. But now at this later junction of my life, you could bet I was willing to hear this and learn more about where I came from. And so as a consequence, yes, I discovered who my mom and dad were. I have 5 other brothers and sisters.
Wow.
And I went back and I met them all. Unfortunately, my mother and father had died already, but it didn't preclude me from knowing who they were and having an understanding of where I came from.
Man, that's awesome. And I'm sure there's several people that around the country that's listening will listen to this podcast and just listen. I mean, something happened 20 plus some odd years ago, then it rolls back into your favor. That's awesome. We got my guy Derek Reed's on tonight. What's up, D Reed, down in Dallas? And he says, Coach, do you believe that college players love the game more than the professional guys, or are they more hungry, or they're passionate to win? Right now, is it players in college or is it the pros? Now, I know my opinion is I think the college guys are way more hungry than the pros, only because the money is not there and the college kids are trying to get it.
Yeah, they're trying to get it. It kind of depends. Are we talking about a college player, who
now it don't change the game, Coach. You know that.
Yeah. So, getting paid, all these things this is all relative now. But as we're talking about the pageantry of something, college athletics has that pageantry. You go home, you still live on campus or maybe off campus, but people identify and know who you are because that's the community you're around. The NBA guy doesn't have that, or international guy certainly doesn't have that aspect. He lives in the community, but it is not the same. He's not that pageantry is there for the game. It's a show, but it's not the same as some college kid your same age who hangs out with you and eats dinner with you, who's pulling for you every day.
Oh, just like you.
Yeah, I mean, he's going through the same classes with you. He's doing all that. That's that pageantry that's there and that passion. Now NIL has changed it in some capacity for some of the athletes, but ultimately every college kid is looking to go to the next level. I mean, you can talk to anybody and they're all going to say, what's your next destination? They're all going to say professionally.
Yeah, exactly right. So if you had, as we come to wrap up, tell everyone, how they can get a hold or a copy of the book if they wanted to read it and take a look at your journey and all that. Tell them how they can get the book.
Yeah, so it's recently launched on Amazon.com. All you have to do is either pull up my name and you'll see one of the two books that are there, or the title, Shooting for the Impossible. It's not a long read. It's an interesting read. It's different. It's a search of family, and so it's a quest that's different. But the book, you had to know where I came from in order to understand about me taking that risk, which is all I've ever done in life, and what it led to,
Yeah, and with all the everything that's been poured into you from the game and coaching and all that, and like you said, the nuances of the game has changed. If a kid or parent is listening tonight and looking for some advice for their kid in terms of college basketball, trying to get to the next level, may or may not get there, or even, I know for a fact that I've got not one, not two, but 3 or 4 kids, coach, that is trying to get into FIBA basketball and struggling right now. What kind of advice would you give these guys right now?
So every one of them has a different set of things they need to get to, right? So from the youth trying to reach up, it's use basketball as a tool. Treat it the way it's supposed to be, with an utmost level of respect and dedication toward it, because it will ultimately treat you a certain way. If you think you're bigger than the game of basketball, it'll spit you out. It'll
you're never going to be bigger than the game, ever.
Yeah. And so if you're academically great, you have more choices in life. There are over 1,300 schools that play college basketball. There is a place for everyone. However, you will be told what to do if your grades aren't there to qualify to even get in.
Correct.
Now, the professional athlete, that's a different story. That's more of in line having the resume that speaks immediately. It is a player profile that has, because an international coach like myself is going to give 7 seconds of time. It must say everything on it. I must have the links. I must have your statistics. I must have your highlights plus some actual games and everything all in one, as well as an action photo. Because let's say it's not me. Let's say it's a Croatian coach or a Japanese coach. You have got to capture their attention immediately, because if they have any question, they'll just discard it and it will never be seen again.
Wow, that is absolutely amazing, Coach. I appreciate you coming through tonight, falling through here on the Pull Up Podcast show. The doors are always open anytime you want to come back. And Graces, if you had to leave the people with one last message, what would it be?
Well, I'm grateful for the opportunity that you gave me today, Coach. It's wonderful to be on your podcast show. Have a purpose in life. Understand what you're doing every single day and why you're doing it. Be persistent. And for the best I can give is show passion. Be passionate about what you're doing every day. It'll come across, and if you're going to use basketball, use it as a tool to get an education. You'll be surprised what it can do for you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's like my kid is doing it right now. And that is words well spoken by Coach John Saintignon. Man, I appreciate you so much, Coach, for being here with us tonight. As we move forward on the Pull Up Podcast in season number 4, I'm working very closely with a lot of the kids as well. Myself, Coach, opened up during the pandemic, my sports marketing company, the Rise NIL. We work with a lot of kids and touch base with them and a lot of colleges, a lot of different brands, just kind of showing the kids how to get into this, branding situation and maximize their potentials. Some of their potentials are large, some are small. I'm talking to different brands that are talking about, get here and we've got an opportunity for the kid to maybe make $200 or $2,000. Like you mentioned earlier, it becomes different. And then we just also show the kids how to market themselves with these brands so that it becomes a win-win. It's a win for the brand. It's a win for myself, and definitely a win for the kid as well. And
Right.
And then also, we're doing so much with Val and myself coming up on the podcast. We still got, the interludes talk on Tuesday that we're doing some big things. And Val, I don't know if you knew, Coach, but she also wrote a book herself called A DJ Saved My Life. So for those that don't have a copy, there's a QR code that you can get the book, or you can get the paperback. And also, for my purposes, make Val sign it for you as well. But she's done a great job of just talking about how being a DJ changed some things in her life and able to pull her back into the podcast game. And she's doing obviously phenomenal with that, and everything as well. And then on Tuesday, Coach, we still got interludes. We still got our interludes talk on Tuesday show coming up on Tuesday nights with Val and myself as well. Wow. And then, of course, next week, just like yourself, my guy, the one and only Coach Walter Jordan from Purdue University, also got a very, very, very touching book similar to yourself, Coach. He'll be here next Monday night. So if you got an opportunity out on the West Coast and you can pull away, that'd be great to pull in and check out that podcast with me and Coach Walter Jordan impacting on some very high level things. So we appreciate you very much. So
can't wait to hear it, man.
Oh,
sounds
man,
great.
Hey, thank you guys again for pulling up with Coach Tony on the Pull Up Podcast show tonight, season 4, episode 402 with me and my guy, Coach John Saintignon. But right now, we put the 2 fingers up. We always say peace.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you.
It's the Pull Up Podcast. It's the Pull Up Podcast. It's the Pull Up Podcast. Pull up, pull up. It's the Pull Up Podcast. It's the Pull Up Podcast. It's the Pull Up Podcast. Pull up, pull up. Bounce the voice and Coach Tony, it's the Pull Up Podcast. So I said bounce the voice and Coach Tony, it's the Pull Up Podcast. So it's the Pull Up Podcast. It's the Pull Up Podcast. It's the Pull Up Podcast. So it's the Pull Up Podcast. It's the Pull Up Podcast. It's the Pull Up Podcast. So Kev is the engineer. Val is the one you hear. Hey, Coach Tony got the sports show. Let's go. It's the Pull Up Podcast. So I said Kev is the engineer. Val is the one you hear. Hey, Coach Tony got the sports show. Let's go. It's the Pull Up Podcast. So it's the Pull Up Podcast. It's the Pull Up Podcast. It's the Pull Up Podcast. Pull up. It's the Pull Up Podcast. It's the Pull Up Podcast. It's the Pull Up Podcast. Pull up. Let's go. Hey. Let's go. Hey. Let's go. Hey. Let's go. Let's go. It's the Pull Up Podcast. It's the Pull Up Podcast. It's the Pull Up Podcast. Pull up. It's the Pull Up Podcast.